Welcome to U.S. Defense Line Channel. Operations begin in Crimea. Explosions were heard at critical Russian military points in the region. Explosion sounds echoed from Russian ammunition and command points. Ukrainian rocket and artillery units carried out 1,200 firing missions in a week. Ukrainian armed forces destroyed more than 100 targets in just days. Since the launch of its operations in the Kherson region, thousands of square kilometers and nearly 200 areas have been recaptured. Strong explosions occurred on the Eastern Front as well. Russia has activated caliber cruise missile ships in the Black Sea. Countries that are preparing for the operations that are expected to start in Crimea have now started mutual moves. Russia moved 6 ships, including 3 ships capable of carrying 20 caliber cruise missiles, to the Black Sea during the day. Military Navy of the Ukrainian Armed Forces made critical statements and stated that as of today, 6 Russian ships, including 3 caliber cruise missile carriers, are on combat duty in the Black Sea and their firing capacity is up to 20 missiles. In the Sea of Azov, Russia is keeping a ship on combat duty to control maritime communications. It is stated that 76 caliber missiles are deployed on 5 Russian ships in the Mediterranean and 24 more on 3 Russian ships in the Caspian Sea. Russia may be holding back the missiles it has deployed in the Black Sea to launch an attack on the southern front. All the moves show that both countries have started a preparation on the southern front. According to breaking news, explosion sounds were heard in Crimea. Explosions reported at the Russian military airbase in the Jankoy region. It is stated that this move was carried out with Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicles. Moreover, the Chief of Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces reported that with the control and deployment of Ukrainian artillery around the Dnipro River, fire control over the areas in the Crimea was achieved. After the recent increased operations on the southern front, it was only a matter of time before the moves towards the Crimea were carried out. In fact, the strategic advances of the Ukrainian forces on the southern front were quite intriguing. This time, it was reported that the 3 land corridors leading to the Crimea were under fire control by the Ukrainian troops. Thanks to the critical points taken under control, the possibility of the Russian army supplying the Crimea from the territory of Ukraine is reduced. At the same time, it is seen from these moves that the Ukrainian forces started to prepare for a major operation against the Crimea. Since the beginning of the war, the Ukrainian forces, which have made moves especially at key points, will continue their struggle to ensure success by launching a large-scale operation on the southern front, thanks to their control at such critical points. At the same time, operations continue on many fronts. Many critical airstrikes were prevented in Kiev, the heart of Ukraine. Ukraine's air defense systems continue to be used successfully. Russia, on the other hand, continues to carry out airstrikes. After the air attack sirens sounded throughout the country in the morning, the defense systems were activated. Explosions were heard, especially in the Dnipro and Kiev regions. Ukrainian air defense, on the other hand, shut down 2 Russian cruise missiles over the Kiev region after the morning attacks and neutralized 2 Iranian-made Shahid-136 kamikaze drones. It was seen that Russia could not achieve its purpose in its attacks, and the ammunition used was wasted. Ukrainian defense units also carried out 2 airstrikes on critical Russian positions during the day. Thanks to the hits of these attacks, Russian anti-aircraft missile systems were hit from 2 points. Since the beginning of this war that has been going on for months, the Ukrainian Armed Forces continues to prove its success with its accurate moves. This time, Ukrainian troops reportedly destroyed 102 air targets in just 1 week. As a result of these accurate moves of the troops, 47 ammunition depots and 36 command centers of the Russian army were hit and seriously damaged. Deputy Chief of the Main Operations Directive of the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Alexei Hromov, made critical statements and reported that the success of hitting these targets and the Ukrainian missile and artillery units carried out 1,200 firing missions in just 1 week. Thanks to these shooting missions, many critical Russian military points and various equipment have been destroyed so far. Moscow is getting more and more difficult with each passing day due to the dwindling military equipment and ammunition resources. Concern is growing in Russia. Artillery of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, this time, destroyed 2 Russian checkpoints and 2 ammunition depots during the day. Thereupon, Russian troops are now trying their last chance on the fronts and continue their attempts to bombard the positions of the Ukrainian troops and the areas near the contact zones. This time, Russian troops carried out 2 airstrikes, 3 missile attacks, and more than 13 attacks with multiple launch rocket systems. However, it is clear that Russia, whose number of attacks has decreased gradually, especially on some days, is dealing with a serious shortage of military resources and ammunition. It was also reported that Russian troops carried out these attacks on an infrastructure facility in the Zaporizhzhia region. As long as Russia's unsuccessful attacks against such critical infrastructures continue, the Russian army will continue to inflict serious losses on the territory and skies of Ukraine. Moreover, it is known that Europe's largest nuclear power plant is located on this front. Therefore, any move in the region is of critical importance for both countries. Thanks to the continued successful operations on many fronts, the Ukrainian troops are gradually increasing their regional control and superiority on the fronts. Especially on the southern front, it is seen that the operations carried out in recent days are progressing in favor of Ukraine. Ukrainian troops, who managed to liberate and retake Kherson, the most key area on the southern front, reached the starting point of the operation on the right bank of the Dnipro River, thanks to their successful operations on the front. Thanks to this strategic advance, the Ukrainian troops recaptured an area of approximately 5,580 square kilometers and 198 territories. Thanks to the recaptured areas, the area where the Ukrainian troops can be deployed has gradually increased. On the contrary, the Russian forces have difficulties in finding even a place to deploy on the fronts. After the success of the Ukrainian troops on this front, operations were launched against the Zaporizhzhia and Crimean regions. Ukrainian army, which started a rapid and versatile advance in the regions, can carry out a big siege against the Russian troops at any moment. Russian soldier is desperately waiting for orders for his next steps. At the same time, operations on the Eastern Front continue without slowing down. Powerful explosions have been reported in the Mariupol region. According to the breaking news, the ammunition load in the repair depot, where the military equipment of the Russian troops in the region was repaired, exploded. It was reported that this explosion occurred during the repair work of heavy military equipment. Russian troops have been trying to build a defensive line in this area in recent days. It is also known that Ukrainian troops have started to advance successfully on the Donetsk front, where this region is located. Moreover, despite the loss of thousands of military equipment and ammunition, Russia's encounter with such an event causes the losses to increase even more. Moreover, it is known that the repair of damaged military equipment is even more difficult due to Western sanctions. For this reason, each of these events causes much bigger problems for Russia. In these days when both countries have no margin for error, any decision made by the leaders and any step taken by the army will be of much more critical importance. In these days when the violence of the war and the tension between the countries have increased considerably, every move must be carried out in line with strategic goals. Otherwise, the erring party will have to face serious problems, while the other party will have a great advantage. In time, we will see what steps countries will take and in what direction the war will progress. If Ukraine continues its successful moves, the course of the war will take a completely different turn. Russia, on the other hand, will have to deal with bigger problems if it continues its attacks on infrastructures, which do not bring success, but on the contrary, cause sanctions and defeats. Moreover, these aimless attacks, which also cause serious ammunition shortages, can even cause greater damage to Russia. Because as it is known, as the attacks against Ukraine increase, the support provided also increases. On the contrary, for Russia, the reactions and sanctions are increasing and the country's economy is moving to the point of collapse. All these steps now have a critical importance in determining the fate of countries. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.